Bologna to produce a positive university?
Yes, thank you very much and good morning. I'm perhaps the youngest in the history in the oldest university in the world. I haven't actually checked that information, but if you don't mind, I'd like to give you a brief introduction. What we're currently doing at Bologna University, I'd like to thank the organizers, as a side note, of course, very important. So I wanted to think about sustainability and positive universities, and when I was trying to think about, reflect on those ideas, I looked at our curriculum, and what we see is that positive universities are responsibilities of universities.
Concerned by the well-being of their students and future generation. Quindi il concetto di
So I think from this we can see that positive universities is a concept that is intimately linked to social responsibility and responsibility of future generations, to subjects that we've all discussed, the thinking to the future, long-term deliberation, and our ability to handle global challenges. So that is the way that I'd like to couch my presentation. So the second question that comes to me when I think about it like this is that here we have something that is needed in our universities. Do we need to have a paradigm shift, therefore? And the answer that I came up with was that no, I don't think we need a paradigm shift. So what would this mean? To be a bit provocative, that would shift us to a negative university, and I cannot get behind that concept of a negative university. So therefore, what I think we need is to try to find a way to go back to the original paradigm, really, to put the original paradigm back into place. In the Western tradition of universities was born around 1,000 years ago, a little bit less, just shy of 1,000 years. So this was a free way of teaching, so something that was free from religion. It was born here in Bologna, and this was then developed. It was born out of a society, and it was born out of the students, international students. Essentially, they were predominantly students. They organized the Universitatus. And what they did was they carried out fundraising to pay their professors for their teaching. Now, it wasn't a salary that they were paying their professors, of course. At the time, science was something that was considered a gift of God. And so it was more a gift to the professors than it was a salary being paid to them. The students were the rectors at the outset. So at the very beginning of history, the rectors were the students. So I would use this as the basis, really. The university is a community of students. It is an international community of students. That's the basis, the starting point. Now, moving forward, significantly, in 1889, around 300 universities, the University Magna Carta was signed. This is a document that was extremely important. It was 4 years prior to Maastricht, and then it was added to by a number of different universities. So essentially fundamental values of the university. More than 800 have signed up to it now. And they come from 85 countries around the world. What does this document include? I wanted to just refer to it briefly. At the very beginning of the document, what we can see is that it was signed with a view to widened cooperation amongst all of the European people who are convinced that the states must undertake the importance of the role of the university that must play in a society and that is going to have an international dimension to it. Two other passages to this very important document include the future of humanity at the end of this millennium will be in large part based in the cultural and technical development that comes from these research institutes that have become full-fledged universities. And then there is the role of universities that they must have in terms of development for future generations. What does this mean? It means that all of society is involved. All of the cultural and economic facets of society must be brought in to the mix in this. And the last point, by way of introduction, is that university must work for future generations to give them training and education so that they will be able to handle the major shifts in balance in terms of life and the environment, amongst other things. University must be autonomous, it must be open. This is all included in the document, of course, and that there must be an ongoing dialogue amongst all of the stakeholders. Moreover, university must be a vessel for the development of humanity. Now, this with a view towards European universities, but universities must also carry out their functions without looking at borders. They have to also recognize reciprocally various cultures that exist. So this is the information that I have based on the initial paradigm of what a university was. And my idea was that we could use this as a basis for the future. And this Magna Carta for universities, I think, is the illustration of positive universities. But 3 points I should like to emphasize this morning. So autonomy and independence is of great importance, of course. Second, universities must be open. What do I mean by open? I mean it must be open in all senses of the term. Open means that there must be an anchoring in projects in local communities, but also with a view to opening up to the international community, as well as generating positive impacts, long-lasting impacts on society, as well as being able to produce a positive ecosystem and to respond to the needs of society. As the colleague stated previously, we have to be able to anticipate what the needs of society are going to be in the future. Moreover, we'll need to be able to interpret what changes are taking place and try to drive them in the direction that we would like to see them driven. Moreover, we have to be able to rise to global challenges and facilitate dialogue interculturally, especially today, given the tragedies in Paris and Brussels. I think that the universities have a major responsibility in the face of these atrocities. I won't give you an exhaustive list of examples, but I should like to give you some. When it comes to refugees, and this was referred to in the introduction, the Conference of Rectors here in Italy, along with the government, are endeavoring to try to assist in this issue of migration, to be able to use the skills that we have available in our universities to try to assist in forensics, to be able to decipher who was a victim in these migration flows, to assist in welcoming refugees so that they will have the possibility to be able to find and build a life, to make their situation regular, and to be able to have access to university courses. So the university must be inclusive. And the last point, and I think is what really underpins the very origins of university and is extremely important, is that university is something that must be focused on students. Universities are there for students. They are a place for students, and students must be the main actors at the universities. Every single action taken in a university must be taken in the interest of the students. Here today, there are students, I believe. May I perhaps address you directly? Those who are here in management and social economy at my university, a great warm welcome to you this morning. As we said in the beginning, University of Bologna has many campuses, and we have one here in Rimini. Now, as I was saying, when we talk about innovation and impact on society, the very first thing that comes to mind is that we have to use our students, that everything is going to go through our students as a first step. And one of the main missions of the university, of course, there's research, and I'm sure that there are many subjects that will be addressed by the president of the Conference of Rectors at the end of today's session. Allow me just to perhaps reference two things related to occupational training. or to training in general. What can universities do to bolster training? What could we do to improve? I think that there are two aspects really where we could focus our attention. One would be in terms of the curricula that we are offering, and the second would be the method that we are using. My colleague mentioned something related to content or curriculum. I think at the university level, what we should be doing is trying to really focus on coming up with innovative training programs, using a model of the skill set that we are offering so that we can have specific professional skills that are being offered to our students. Now, that would be essentially the backbone. And then in our courses, we would also offer transversal, cross-cutting skills. So in the broadest sense of the term, not just in terms of soft skills, but trying to offer more internships and to make sure that students are in multidisciplinary research projects, cooperating for development programs, international programs. Moreover, I would like to see our students more involved in research with other universities and perhaps corporations as well. I think that students should be involved in thinking about what a new type of entrepreneurship might look like. And all of the areas that universities are working, what we mentioned before, what universities can do by way of sustainability. So training is important. We want to make our students good professionals, but also good citizens. In addition to that, I think we need to focus on the method that we are using. Plutarch said that students are not just vases that we should be filling, but rather matches that we should be lighting. I believe in that, and I think that universities can really flesh this concept out, especially in Italy, but not only. We should be flanking the process to try to pass on expertise and offering learning techniques that involve the students and that stimulate their critical analysis of things. There should be more practical activities involved in the method as well. So learning by doing. I think if we looked at the type of training programs that we are offering, and they are very good as they stand, but we can always add something. And so if we look at our students, we need to be able to give them additional tools so that they can better interpret what is happening in the world, what transformations are ongoing, and what is going to happen in the future. And on that note, I should like to conclude and thank you.